What's up, Lock Monsters? It's another episode of the Movie Shelf, where we take a movie off this shelf, watch it, rate it, compare it against all the other movies on the shelf. Now, there's one caveat. Not every film has to come from this shelf. Sometimes it comes from your suggestions. I'm happy to do either. Either way, it's getting ranked and put up against a list that we're building of all-time movies in the order that they go in. The top 10 is always at the end of the episode. I'm trying to figure out a way to get a master list, and I want you guys to look at it. And if you disagree with me, I would love to hear about it and why. Also, I realize there's a ton of facts about every film. Sometimes I just have to cut things because trying to keep these at a watchable length. And today's movie is no exception. I don't want to speak at length about 1993's Demolition Man. That's right, Demolition Man, directed by Marco Brambilla. Sorry. Let's see here. It's rated R. It is written by Peter M. Lenkov, Robert Renault, and Daniel Waters. Three writers that toiled over this film and the writing credits. You can read all about it online. It's kind of boring, but there was constant infighting on the best way to write this film, which makes sense when you're thinking about something that maybe we've all thought of. If we could be frozen in time. This film features Sylvester Stallone playing John Spartan, a police officer, against his nemesis of the times, played by Wesley Snipes, Simon Phoenix. And Simon Phoenix, what happens is they both basically end up getting cryogenically frozen for their crimes. Yes, I said crimes, even of a police officer. You wouldn't believe how many crimes police officers commit these days, but that's a pedestal I'll save for another day. I still do support the police, obviously, but there are some bad ones, and we need to be careful for that. All right. What would happen if you woke up 36 years from now? There'd be some things to adjust to. It would be kind of cool. Sometimes it's fun to fantasize that you could go back and look at what happened over the last 36 years and then what's new. Back to the Future tried to do this, and in a time we've already passed at current, they had flying cars. From 1985 to 2015, they thought we'd have flying cars. That never happened. We do have, you know what I'm saying. There are flying cars, but it's not like it is in the movie. But who would have thought one of the most difficult things to do upon waking up after 36 years would be to take a shit? The three seashells still baffles me to this day. I've heard theories about it. There's nothing on the internet that tells you exactly what the three seashells do. I've scoured it. If you can find it, or you have a theory of your own, please feel free to place it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. But this is kind of, without being too foul, you use two of them to grab and the third to swipe and clean. Makes sense, but wouldn't toilet paper be better even in the future at that point? Who knows? Anyway, this movie deals with criminals being cryogenically frozen and then behavior control placed upon them. Now, why is that significant to me? I don't think that the origins of behavior control of criminals was from Clockwork Orange, the Burgess story, made famous in motion picture by our very favorite Stanley Kubrick. But it is notably one of the favorite films of director Marco Brambilla. So, behavior control flick, awesome. I'm sure that was placed in there upon his whim. It's a straight up action flick. They both become unfrozen. Simon Phoenix comes up for parole, and I'm not going to ruin storylines, but he has found a way to get free, and with all kinds of extra and part of the programming while they were under, he has had extreme strength, knowledge, martial arts, weapons, all kinds of stuff that he didn't have before, to kind of make him like a superhuman when he's woken up. Now, in the future, crime is pretty much gone, disappeared, and they live in a peaceful society. A bunch of ninnies is what it is, really. Doesn't sound like a fun way to live at all, where your sexual experiences are even done telepathically as opposed to physical touch. That's lame, but it's funny in the movie. The only way that they can get a handle on this bad guy is to, of course, unfreeze the guy who caught him back in the day. That's your plot. I didn't really ruin anything, which I try not to do. Sometimes I have to take liberties with depending on the film, but this is just a straight up, it's a dumb watch, you guys. If you just feel like watching a film that's entertaining, it's still entertaining to this day. I will say this, in a retrospective of his film career, Dennis Leary had this to say about it. He said so eloquently that it is a giant piece of shit. I'm not going to argue with the man. I don't think it's a great film, but again, like I said, it's very entertaining. There's a couple things I noticed that I want to bring up because I'm a stickler for continuity, and I just like things to point out, general things that I witness in the films. So Simon Phoenix finally gets into the cryo chamber, and he's trying to release all the other criminals so that he can lord them over the police and ultimately take down the society and become, I guess, the leader of whatever. And in saying this, he comes across Jeffrey Dahmer, who has been cryogenically frozen. And he's like, I love that guy. Let's take him. Well, this movie was released in 1993. Jeffrey Dahmer was murdered in prison in 1994. So you figure they're safe, right? This movie actually takes place in 1996, 2 years after Jeffrey Dahmer was dead. So they didn't know that when they made the film, obviously, but impossible. You cannot bring Jeffrey Dahmer back from cryogenically being frozen when he was murdered in prison 2 years earlier. Forgive it. It doesn't matter. But it's worth noting. 40 minutes into the film, Sandra Bullock is explaining how everyone's microchipped, and she uses the phrase "while you were sleeping," which kind of is a prediction of the future, because 2 years later she would be in a film with that title. I know these are stupid, you guys. There's not a lot to talk about on this film. Sandra Bullock's character, Lenina Huxley, is asked, "Where did you learn to kick like that?" And she says, Jackie Chan movies. She's way in the future, right? But she's somehow obsessed with the culture and times of the 80s and 90s, where John Spartan came from. So it's ironic that they should meet up in the future. But I also know that Sylvester Stallone is really good friends with Jackie Chan, and he was offered a part in this film, and maybe he couldn't do it. I don't know what the reason for him not being in it is, but I still think that's a nod of the cap to one of the greatest martial arts movie stars in history. Before going into the museum, John Spartan says, "Use the Force, Luke Skywalker." I think a lot of people probably don't know this. That's not a significant line. Again, maybe a nod of the cap, maybe just trying to use things from pop culture during the time when the film was set, but Sylvester Stallone was actually up for the part of Han Solo in Star Wars: A New Hope, 1990 or 1977. Imagine that. It's bad. It's bad. I love Sly, but imagine his voice. No, Han Solo is Harrison Ford, and thank God they found this carpenter who was working on a film, and they said that's my Han Solo. Okay. So let's see. Let's discuss their ages, since I don't really think they do it in the film. They would be like 83 and 70 years old, and after the 36 years in cryostasis. I don't think their ages are ever revealed. But if you apply what the actors' ages would have been at the time frame, Stallone would be 47 and Snipes would be 34 in 1996. Add 36 years to that, you get 83 and 70. So he was an 83-year-old man fighting a 70-year-old man. That's kind of cool. Around the 5-minute mark in the beginning, Simon Phoenix boasts that he would lose his head if it wasn't attached, and Stallone's character said, "I'll remember that." Well, foreshadowing, you guys. This is a spoiler. At the end of the film, he freezes him back with the very same cryogenic liquid, only in a much different way, and then he decapitates him. Booyah. This film, it's fun, okay? It's fun. If you want to watch a fun film and get some laughs about what the things look like in the future, the cursing will cost you a credit. And there's sensors everywhere that no matter where you are in public, if you say a curse word, it spits out your name and says, "Your language has, John Spartan, you have been charged 1 credit for breaking the blah, 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 blah." Funny. It's funny. It's funny that the only restaurant in the future is Taco Bell after the restaurant wars. It's kind of funny. Now, there is an alternate version of this overseas because Taco Bell didn't exist, and that the restaurant is Pizza Hut that they use in the other version of the film. So if that's one you've seen, you're like, Taco Bell, what's he talking about? That would be why. What other things of note are there? I don't know. It's not very clever. I think if you were writing this movie again today with the same timetable, starting now, only 3 years from now, and then going 36 years into the future from now, you could probably come up with a much better story. But I don't blame that on Marco Brambilla, okay? I blame it on the fact that there was 3 writers all trying to write this film at the same time, and rather than get one guy telling the story that he wants to tell, you were trying to placate 3 different people, and everyone was trying to push in their own aspects of it, and it fails. You guys, the script fails to me. The execution of a bad script is actually really good because the movie's watchable. That said, it's time to get to the scoring. The scoring for this film, I'm going to go with 73.2. Okay? That's pretty high. And I'm going to tell you why I gave it the scores that I did. It's got a great cast. Got some memorable dialogue. The actors that acted in it know it's a piece of shit. But it's got a place in my heart. And maybe heart points don't count on your scoreboard, but heart points, we're not talking about your all-time list. We're talking about my all-time list. And I looked at it against all the other films on the list, and I went with a 73.2. 73.2 for this giant piece of shit. Thank you again, Dennis Leary, for your beautiful, eloquent words. And that puts it 14th on the all-time list. I've got many more reviews to get to, so I want to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Demolition Man in the books, first Marco Brambilla movie. We still haven't done another a director in common. We have no two films from the same director. So that's cool. And it's going to continue over the next couple at least. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Watch or don't watch Demolition Man. It's your call. It's a fun one. Bye.